Good morning, everyone. I welcome you all to the Digite Eclipse Integration webinar. My name is Bhavesh, and I will be giving you an overview of how Digite integration with the popular development IDE Eclipse helps developers update the project items in Digité Enterprise directly, and so developers can continue using their Eclipse IDE to view and update item details without having to leave their context, and also synchronize changes which are being made in the Digite. So we'll be taking the questions at the end of the webinar. Please use the Q&A box for that. So just to start off with, the Digite Enterprise provides seamless integration with Eclipse, which is a commonly used development IDE for Java applications. This integration provides instant access to not only just viewing the project item, but also updating the text, change requests, or user story tasks or other project items generally worked upon by developers within the context of the Eclipse. So the real advantage clearly being that the developer gets quicker access to the information tracked in Digite without having to switch between the tools. So just to highlight, a developer can view his inbox items, add edit project items, route or reject workflow items, log timesheet data against the project items, and at the same time synchronize changes made in the project items in Digite so that they are seen in the Eclipse IDE. And more importantly, it also has a feature where the developer can attach the context information to a project item. So let me just take you through the application now and show you how the integration works. So in the Eclipse IDE, what I've done here is I've installed the Digite Eclipse plugin, and I've configured the task repository with my application so that the tasks or the items which have been assigned to me get synchronized into my task repository present in the Eclipse IDE. So let's take a scenario where a developer is using the Eclipse IDE and is working as per the task assigned to him in Digite. So after configuring the task repository that will fetch the items from his user account in Digite, the developer can create filters, and in Eclipse terminology, he can create queries so that he can sort or filter items which are present in inbox and view them accordingly. So in this case, let's say the developer clicks on his Digite task repository and says new query. The developer is looking out to create a filter where he can view his let's say the defects which are now in the past due status. So I'll say past due defects as my query. I'll select a bunch of projects, and I can select all of them, or I can select a bunch of projects. I'll select the item type. All the e-forms which are available to all the projects which are present in the My Project list of the user will be listed in the project box, and the e-forms or the item types will be shown accordingly here in the type section. You can then go on to select the status, and since he wants to view all the items irrelevant of the priority they have, you will just select any for now and say finish. So as you can see, I've got a small notification saying that I have 15 open tasks list to view, and it notifies me each time an item gets assigned to me in the similar manner. So right now I see all these 15 items which have been synchronized from Digite and now available for viewing in the Eclipse IDE. As you can see, the task listing are the nomenclature followed here is the project ID and the item ID and the name. So I'll pick a defect, let's say defect 7, and double click on it to load its details in the screen. So as you can see, I can see all the sections of this defect, whether they are custom segments or custom fields, it wouldn't matter. All the details which are present on the EFORM item are displayed here so that the developer can check all the information posted on that item. So in this case, let's say the developer is actually looking out to work on this defect, and he goes to the description and he sees that, okay, so there are a couple of attachments which he would like to have a look at. So in this case, what he'll do is he'll say modify item. He can download the attachments. He can modify the item from here itself if he wants to. The entire Digite application gets available to him in the browser context of the IDE. So after, let's say after downloading the attachments, he's starting to work on this defect. So one way the developer will start working on this defect is in this Eclipse IDE. He'll switch the context, as you see, as in Digite, and the context tab here. So what this context option does for the developer is it keeps track of all the files which the developer is working once he has activated an item. So let's say I'll activate this item as I'm working on this defect. So I've activated it and I'll select the context. In this case, what I'll do is, like a typical developer, what I'll do here is I'll just select the files which I think are relevant in this case. So let's say delete is one file. I'll look for the file, the Java file, I'll open it and start analyzing this defect and work on the code file which is present in the Eclipse IDE, my code branch. After a while, I realized that the relevant information for me to continue working on this defect is not available. So what I'll say in this case is, since I plan to come back to this item later on once the relevant details are available, I'll say attach context. What it does is it allows me to attach the file which I was working on. So in this case, I had opened up a delete generate join action.java file. So this file will be attached to this item. So whenever I come back to it, it will be automatically be available for my addition or analysis. So just while adding the comment, I'll say and provide the comments. And I'll deactivate the item. Now, once the developer has stopped working on an item, typically he will also, what he'll do is he'll go and route the item to the next workflow space so that the relevant team member or the users start working on it, and also log time. So in this case, what I'll do is I'll click on this route option. Now in Digite, what I've done here is I've enabled the preference which ensures that the routing and the rejected comments are added whenever the item gets routed. So I'm getting the same pop-up option here, and I'll just say I'll add my comments, and the item will then get routed.
Bhavesh?
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt you. Have you shared the Eclipse application? Because few of the participants are not able to see it.
Okay, I see it is shared. Okay, let me just reshare that. I hope everyone is able to see the Eclipse IDE right now. Ravish, can you confirm?
I can see it.
Okay. So just so that anyone who was not able to see this screen earlier, what I was trying to explain earlier is once the task repository is configured by the developer, he can view the items based on the queries which he can build. So in this case, what I've done is I've created a query called past due defects, which will filter out all the defects in my inbox which are having the status past due. So there are about 15 of them in my inbox, and all of them get listed in this task list present in the Eclipse IDE. I can double click on any of these items and view all its details as they have been entered in the Digite. So I was explaining wherein the developer activates a task and starts working on it, and has to go on to working on some other task. So he rejects the item and now wishes to log time and ensure that the time which has been spent on that item is also getting tracked. So in this case, what we have here is, apart from the standard and the custom segments present in this item, we have a segment called timesheet wherein the project name, the logged effort, and the time submitted, all the details are shown. Once I click on the enter time icon, the timesheet for that item is shown the same way it is shown when you use that icon over the item present in Digite. I log my hours here. Let's say I spent 2 hours analyzing this defect. So once I synchronize the changes, all the details which are present or were edited or updated in Digite by other users also get synchronized and shown in this item. So now, since I intend to work on this item again, I see that the item has been assigned back to me for working. So I'll activate defect 7 and I'll move back to the context, and I see that the delete join action.java is again available for me for working out the resolution to this defect. So in this way, a developer's job of performing the required changes to a code file, but also ensuring whether the items in the Digite or the project are updated as per whether they are routing the items or updating the timesheet details, all of it gets done directly from the Eclipse IDE. And apart from that, what we get to do here is a developer gets an option where he can store his context files which he was working on for a particular item, so that whenever he toggles between items or comes back to an item, all those files are available for viewing and analyzing as it were earlier. So like I mentioned, the team member can go about creating a query to view his items in the inbox, can then view his task assignments in the task listing which are present in the Eclipse, and he can go about managing his context information for any of the items by simply attaching or retrieving details which have been linked by him while he was working on a particular item. So in this case, what we have done is we opened a couple of files and we saw that information of those files or the link to those files is retained, and the developer doesn't have to go about searching for the files again while working on that defect. And once he's done working on that item, he can go about routing or rejecting the project item, as well as he can go ahead and log time directly from the Eclipse IDE. So on similar lines, considering how Eclipse is used for mainly development for Java applications, we have also done a similar integration for Visual Studio. It has similar capabilities such as viewing the inbox items in the listing, routing or rejecting the items, and editing the items directly from the Visual Studio environment. So as you can see in these screenshots, the developer can log into the application. He can synchronize items which are present in Digite for his account, and then go about routing or working on his files and then routing them, and also logging time or editing these items directly from the Digite environment. So one thing I would also like to highlight here is, let me just switch back to the Eclipse environment. Right, so I hope you are able to see the Eclipse integration now. So as I was saying, this entire integration of Eclipse and Digite has been supported by the Mylan framework. So this information of how the context of an item can be tracked, or how these details are getting tracked of Digite items in the Eclipse IDE is based on the Mylan framework. There are options where you can go about synchronizing your Digite data back into the Eclipse IDE which you are viewing right here, as well as you can change views to see data as per the context or the time frame. So in this case, what I've done here is I've categorized all the items based on the queries which are built. I have created a query for the CRs which are pending in my inbox and the past due defects which are pending in my inbox. I can also say schedule, and I can see the items based on the days for which they have been assigned to me. So for today, I see there are so many items which have been assigned to me, and I can choose from them which I can work on by just simply double clicking on them, or I can see what is the work plan I have for the rest of the days going forward in similar fashion. So just to summarize the advantages, what we saw in the Digite and the Eclipse or the Visual Studio integration are, the developers won't have to constantly switch back and forth between the development IDE and the Digite to view any of the project items they have been assigned to work on. And more importantly, this is all supported through a framework of Mylan, and all the tasks or the item assignment information is shown in the Eclipse context itself. So team members can not only view those items but also work on those items in terms of adding or editing those items, logging time on them, or routing the items to the next or previous workflow stages. And more importantly, as I said, the Mylan framework is being used, so developers can also keep track of the context information while working on multiple project items, so that they don't lose track of the files which they were working on as they come and back and forth on these items. So just to close this presentation, I'd like to add that the Digite Eclipse or the Visual Studio integration is sold as an add-on element and is priced separately. You can contact sales or the support team for more details on pricing, or if you would like to go about evaluating this integration first. I would like now to have the Q&A session so that we can have a more interactive session of how you see this getting used by development teams and add up to the productivity or help them work out their daily work items much easier. So I see a question coming up from Shrikant Shishadri, whether Eclipse will be integration of defects to Digite environment. So let me just take you back. Probably this was something which you missed during the presentation initially. What we saw here is we create a task repository which is connecting to the Digite environment. So you provide the server details and your login credentials. So in this case, any developer who is working on his Eclipse environment will go about providing these details and validate them and just check if they are working as expected. The details are validated, and based on this connection which is established between the Eclipse and Digite, he can create queries. So in this query, what the developer can do is he can select a project, he can select any of the eForm items, not just the defect, but any of the eForm items which he has access to in the projects in which he is allocated. So I see so many projects which have been allocated in the My Project list of that user, and I can select any of the eForm items. So in this case, so that I can focus on certain work items while I work on them. So typically a developer will be working on change requests and defects. That's the reason I have created a couple of filters or queries for defect and change requests here. As you can see, I have created a query for the CRs which have been assigned to me in the inbox, and similarly I have created a query to fetch the defects which are assigned to me and having the status as past due. So it is up to you how you want to configure or sync data into the Eclipse IDE for working. I hope I answered your question, Shrikant. Yes, we'll be sharing the PPT at the end of the webinar. Correct. So this will be more applicable for organizations who are having development projects running in Java or VB, because the integrations which we have is for Eclipse in IDE and the Visual Studio IDE. So if you have projects, IT organizations who are running development teams to develop applications in Java or Visual Basic or Visual Studio, so these integrations will be very helpful for them because they'll save a lot of time for the developers on the productivity front, as well as keeping track of all the information and ensuring all the required processes have been followed by them without having to switch context between the two tools. No, so the question which I see here is whether this will integrate with MPP. So these integrations are meant for development teams who are working on source code files which they work on in their Eclipse or Visual Studio development environments. So it is meant for them. As far as integration with MPP is concerned, we already have it in our application, and I hope you can explore that, and if you have any queries regarding that on how the Digite MSP integration works, probably we can help you on that as well. So we are still open for questions or any concerns you might have. Please feel free to send in your concerns or queries on the chat or ask for mine so that we can hear you out. And I think we don't have any more questions. I'm still logged into my Eclipse environment and I see that one of my defects got updated. So I got this notification and I see this alert which says there are incoming changes and whether I would like to synchronize them. So as you can see, this is really a connected environment wherein all the changes, if you have scheduled for synchronization based on the synchronization details which you have provided, all the changes will be there and the user will be duly informed about the same. So are there any questions or concerns which we can answer right now from participants? Or anything you would like me to go over again, as there was some connectivity issue earlier, if there was one. So a question coming up from Harshisha. So he has asked whether the integration requires Digite integration as well. So the integration which we just saw is with the development integrated development environment, while SVN integration is more of a configuration management integration wherein you sync changes with the files which you have uh, stored in your SVN repositories. So SVN integration is not a prerequisite for using the Eclipse integration definitely, but uh, from looking at the perspective of how a developer will go about using or work his way through the life cycle of a typical defect, yes, he will have the benefit of the SVN integration and the Eclipse integration both if you sign up for both. But having Digite SVN integration is not a prerequisite for using the Eclipse integration. You can use it standalone. So Harshal, we had also done SVN integration webinar last week. If you would like to get more details or access to that webinar, please let us know. We will be happy to share the details with you, or if at all required, we can provide another session for you to just understand how that integration works. So right now we are only done the integrations for the development IDEs. We have not planned or for any integrations which are there for database related projects, but I think what you're looking out for is whether updations of files or can be tracked, whether they are your stored procedures or any of the query files which you have in your database. If you are making changes to that, yes. So I think what will suit your need in that case more is the SVN integration, because you're simply dealing with files there, and you just need to commit the changes into the SVN repository. So in that case, I think having the SVN integration will be more helpful to you. So I also have a question coming up from Anita, wherein she asks, could you please explain how to integrate this with Digite? So Anita, if you're aware about our MSP integration, we go about installing a plugin in Microsoft Project Client, and only then you are able to perform the Digite operations from Microsoft Project. So similarly, we have a plugin created for Eclipse IDE or Visual Studio IDEs. So let me just give you a quick glimpse of that as well. So in that case, what you actually go about doing is you go about adding a software, and you provide the details of the server from which you want to install or connect the Eclipse plugin which we have provided. So in this case, I'll just provide a name and provide the entire path. Let's say and so in this case, what I'll do is I'll provide the path for the plugin, and it will come up here in listing, and I can go about installing it in the same manner we do for any Microsoft Project Client plugin, and restart the Eclipse environment so that we get to see all these options of integrating it with Digite through task repositories or task listings, which we have based on the Mylan framework we have here. Okay, so Harshal, we will surely share the presentation for SVN as well as the Eclipse integration we had today and the last week. Anita, I hope I answered your question regarding the integration. It's a simple plugin mechanism where you go about installing the plugin and you're ready to start using the Digite Eclipse integration. Sure, Anita, we will be sharing this presentation and the webinar which we had for the ECR module as well with you. We'll make a note of that. Punita, I hope you were able to get all the details required which you might have missed out in the initial slides. Please let me know if you want me to go over any. right now. Okay, I think we'll call it a day here. Thank you all for joining the webinar, and please do provide your feedback or any concerns you might still have. We'll surely get back to you on them. I'll end the webinar now. Thank you. Have a good day.